chairs. I don't know.
I just came in and sat down. I had
You
no.
haven't been sitting back here the last 2 meetings.
Kama didn't want to sit next
did
to us,
what?
that's it.
You haven't been sitting back here the last 2 meetings, but I haven't said it.
Please, heads up, 7 up.
You know, this morning I just sat down. I didn't even think about it.
You ready?
You're live.
You ready, Madam Clerk?
That was magical, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your patience as we got our technology going. Any other public comment, please? Yes.
Good morning. I missed you guys. Golly. No. But thank you for your service as commissioners. Thank you very much for that. I really do appreciate it. I hope you know that.
We need to say that you need to speak louder.
Oh, yes, sir. I will do that. Thanks for reminding me.
Thank you.
Okay, Carrie Onan, Centerville Township. And thanks to every one of you, as I said, for your service as our commissioners, and those of you I recently emailed. I wanted to thank you for your prompt and thoughtful responses. We very much appreciate the respect you show us by taking time out of your crazy busy schedules to communicate with your timely and thoughtful replies. I can't thank you enough. I really appreciate that. Regarding the current committee system that you've set up, if you're going to continue using this system, and there are definitely those of us that question the efficiency and efficacy of this approach, but if you're going to continue using this system, the structure itself looks in desperate need of streamlining, flat out. For starters, we understand these to be subcommittees. So by their very nature, they exist to serve you, our elected board, of all 7 commissioners, right? I mean, that's a subcommittee. So it's logical that what these subcommittees do comes specifically and directly from our board of 7 elected commissioners as a whole. Please correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but this is the way we see it. And those specific, I guess, directives or authorizations that you give the subcommittees, we want to see them done in a public and transparent fashion, so we can at least observe it at the very least. So the board as a whole authorizes the subcommittees to research and bring the results of that research to the executive committee or the executive meeting. That's our understanding of the process as it seems to have functioned for a long time. So from the executive committee, or at that committee or meeting, the entire board then deliberates and confers with their constituents for a week to then decide and vote on what action, if any, will be taken at what I think is called the regular meeting, which is the evening meeting, where I've noticed more public seems to participate. It makes sense that the vote takes place there and only there at the regular evening meeting. That was our understanding years ago, that was the meeting where action actually took place. These other ones were to lead up to that. So this gives all interested parties, that would be all 7 commissioners and the public, at least 1 week, if not 2, to review the subcommittee's research findings, right? And give us all a chance to do our due diligence before a deciding vote takes place, before issues are voted on and ratified. I don't know that I'll have time, but I'll do what I can. I've become a. That's it? Okay,
You're
rambling.
welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you for your kind comments.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Yes, Mr. Mikowski.
Good morning, Happy New Year. Everybody was pushed in, right? Or somehow we got here. Just as we look forward to, I appreciate Ms. Onan's commentary. I think she has laid out for us and the commissioners the appropriate process of how governance should take place. That's the way I believe it. And I've observed the committee system 30-some years ago. Wasn't very good. I attended all those meetings, all those subcommittee meetings in those days, and it was just a flurry of foolishness. from my perspective. I believe every commissioner is elected to understand everything that goes on at the same time. That's easily possible in this room, in this committee. And so I have hope that the new year will bring us new things, better things, and a resolution. And I would like to raise the Gandhi's 7 dangers to human virtue. Wealth without work, pleasure without conscience, knowledge without character, business without ethics, science without humanity, religion without sacrifice, and the last, very important here, going back to May 11, 2021, politics without principle. Politics without principle. On that issue, it did not exist, and it still does not exist, because the commissioners are making every effort not to report to the people the consequences of their bad decision on May 11, 2021. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Thank you very much. Any commissioner comment? Yes.
Along the lines of public comment, I sent an email to all commissioners asking them not to reply. I don't know if it's appropriate to read it. Ask not to reply for OMA, but it may be time to enter that into the public. So I will read to you what I sent to my fellow commissioners. I support the committee structure, but I think we need the following guidelines. And I will forward this to you after. So committees should be given a specific, well-described task within their respective area at the direction of the whole board. This should come as a motion from the board. Example, we authorize the Building and Grounds Committee to research possible alternatives to the HVAC system and make recommendations to the board. Any recommendations from the committee must go to the executive meeting for deliberation before action or inaction at the regular meeting. Any committee meeting recommendation that will have an impact on another committee's current specific task as authorized by the whole board will need to allow the other committee to meet and review prior to presenting to the executive board. Example, if the personnel committee has been given a specific task to review, and that task has a financial implication, will not need to be run by the finance committee unless it impacts a specific task already given to the finance committee, and vice versa. In short form, I think the committee structure has to be specific and narrow in focus. All committee research starts at the executive, is authorized at the regular, and returns to the executive. That way there's more trust, and committees clearly know their duties and the board knows what to expect. I believe the structure of the committees can be very effective without jeopardizing the integrity of the whole board. Just one commissioner's thoughts. Happy to.
Thank you. Any other commissioner comment? Thank you. We now have time to do our agenda. There is a proposed agenda there. We have not met the standard for closed session, so we cannot do 7A, but we will take item 7 and have that discussion. Any other suggestions? Additions?
I just have a question, Mr. Chairman, on that. What did we not meet of the standards, and why was this on here?
We put it on there thinking we had a legal opinion. We have a contract with our attorneys, but we don't have a legal opinion. We can only go into closed session if we're there to meet with our attorney or if we're there to consider a legal opinion. So if we wanted to consider it in closed session, we would have to ask for our attorney to be here or to submit a legal opinion.
Okay, well, I just kind of wondered, because this attorney-client privilege letter was 3.5 years old. So that's why I wonder why it was even on here. But okay, so are we going to still discuss 7?
I think we were asked to discuss 7.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Any other additions or deletions? Would I have a motion?
Move to approve the agenda as amended. Support.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 7-0. Thank you. We're now down to the election of our vice chair. Are there any motions?
I would move to,
Commissioner Rush,
I would move to elect, Vice Chairman Rexroth for a 1-year term.
any additional motions? All those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 7-0. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And condolences.
Thank you.
We now have our approval of our 2024 rules of order and procedure. Some commissioners have made suggestions. Laurel Evans has made note along the way. I'd ask our administrator to introduce the document in our package, and then our task will be to approve, add, delete, change, edit, and establish our rules. Ms. Ellen.
So to that point, you had sent to you in your packet, and I believe you all have hard copies if you so choose. The only challenge with the hard copies is that they don't show the actual red line. So if you do have it electronically, it might be a little easier to follow on that. But many of the corrections, as you can see on page 3, are just updates in terms of changing the date and different things that have been inserted.
Do you have that copy with the red lines on it? Distributed this morning, if you want.
Okay, so if you do have those, I did not receive a copy of that. That's okay. I'm familiar with the document, so we're good to go.
Mine's black and white.
Yeah, mine is too.
Yeah. I'm working.
I don't know, I don't believe that there was a color copy.
Oh, sorry, my mistake.
That's
John, you want color copies?
I think we can,
I can follow it electronically as well.
Okay.
We just don't go too fast.
Yep.
Going
So
back and forth.
page number 5, I think, page 4 was just, again, as I mentioned, in terms of the dates. I think in regards to on page 5, you'll see that in the comment, there was a suggestion, and this is reflected, that we move the meeting times from the original 9:30 to 9 o'clock. This is just, it was just a recommendation, so.
Actually,
I'm sorry, move them from 9 AM to 9:30 for our regular.
So are you gonna like go through the whole thing, or can we go through and discuss as we go?
I think we need to discuss as we go.
Yeah, let's discuss.
Okay, I will let the board lead then as you see fit.
Well, to back up, to understand fully, as I was trying to decipher this, what is LE? We have LE1, LE2. I understand, what is LE?
Laurel Evans made those documents,
Right, comment.
made those comments in there, put them in as a reflection of information she had received.
Well, I
from-
understood the first one. The first one, it says LE1. I didn't know what that meant, but I certainly understood that this was a suggestion by Commissioner Allgaier to move to a 9:30 start time.
But
The
Laurel
rest,
did it.
She made the
She
note.
made it, she
so-
physically did.
all right, but further, I'll get to it. Further down, it really, there's LE4, and then there was some other, I don't know where it is right now. So, all right, so Laurel Evans makes all kinds of sense. The rest then are just Laurel's suggestion? Is what you're saying?
No, I don't believe Laurel
Because
didn't
there's
have
an
any input on.
LE2 and it's got changes. So Laurel made these changes on her own then? Is that how I read it? Because I don't see a commissioner beside it. And that's why I couldn't fully understand where all these came from. But we can take them one at a time. I think it's very important we do.
The reason I had asked Deb to do a quick overview is some of these are changes, because calendar changes or action taken in the past year. Let's take each one separately, and I prefer that we treat this part of our agenda as more committee and have more informal discussion so that we have time to talk about our rules. Commissioner Ogar?
Yeah, I would like to address the 9:30. My understanding is that the commission did meet for years at 9:30 and that it was just changed back and there was no particular reason. I am proposing that we return to 9:30, if nothing else, because the staff has to come in early for us to meet at 9 o'clock. We are then paying overtime, infringing on their personal lives. And it's not necessary. There's no reason we have to meet at 9 o'clock. We could just as easily meet at 9:30. And it would be better for everyone And I don't see a downside, so. Can we work with motions here, or should we discuss first?
If we treat it more like a committee, I think we can discuss and see where we are, and then we can make a motion if we want to make an official change, if everybody's comfortable with that.
We could gather all of the changes into one motion, then instead of making 26 different ones, but taking one at a time.
Consensus.
And I don't know if we want to keep. So are we gonna keep on this?
Right.
I'd just like to speak. Are there many hourly employees that have to come to board meetings? Is that what we're referring to? Because a salary employee does not.
Well,
Necessarily,
the
you know,
clerk's
more.
office has to come in, the administrative assistant has to be here early. And there's no reason
Both of
That are
those-
close to.
other than somebody wanted to change it.
Commissioner Butler.
I think it's more than just the clerk's office. It has to be here early to prepare for our meetings. So I certainly understand Commissioner Alveire's request. And I think it's a great suggestion, just because it gives everybody a chance to come in the door, get their feet on the ground, get ready, and we were to hit the meeting at 9:30. I opposed going to the 9 o'clock meeting when this was changed for that very reason. But at that time, there was no consideration of staff, period. They said, no, we're gonna start at 9. And it has done just that. It's created extra work, even for our salaried employees, it's created extra work for them. I'm also cognizant of the fact that half the day's gone by 9:30, but we can get half a day's work in before we gotta get up here, so that's not a problem either. So,
I just want to clarify that we are spending overtime. I mean, that is a fact, right? I mean, I'm happy with making it at 9:30, but I want the decision to be based on a fact. No one has answered my question. Your salary, right?
correct.
Your position is salary, your position is salary. Kathy, your position is salary, so Kathy, your position is salary. I'm just confused. Again, I'm happy to go with 9:30, but again, we're making a decision based on what? Convenience or, so what's the basis? for
Well, because
changing it?
people are coming in early just cause, for no particular reason. So I may have been in error assuming we pay overtime. But just because we want them to come in early and start their day early. And I don't see any.
But our clerk isn't the only, our clerk is clerk to the board. So that doesn't mean one person, that's a staff. So I don't think it's just the clerk that would have to be here. It starts a snowball effect of who's gonna cover what and who's gonna be here and who's going to be at the desk, et cetera. It starts, everyone has to, it's a team, as I understand it, and that's a team in there, not just, oh, I'll be here early to take minutes. There's so much more to that. Leanna has to be here. So even though they are salaried, I appreciate that. But that argument hasn't flown when I've tried to get some changes based on the fact that this is a salary position, so therefore, but we haven't taken that into account. So do we want to put extra work, extra time on our salaried employees besides, if that's
Other thoughts?
I think it's a half hour one way or another, and we're gonna be here till next Thursday if we can't get through this one. It's quick, so I support 9:30.
So I would make a motion that we begin our executive committee at 9:30.
second?
Any further discussion? All those in support of the motion to begin our meetings at 9:30, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 7-0. Thank you.
But that's good. I get to sleep in the next half hour at my age.
Next half hour of work.
Oh.
So, I'm gonna go
Even
sit in
number
a
one,
coffee shop.
610
School in
so-
here.
The next change that we have to look at, I don't think we have to approve font changes. So
But why was committee deleted? Just. What did it say before? How was that worded?
it was executive committee, and now it's been changed to executive board of commissioners meeting. It is officially the executive committee.
But the other ones aren't, so just be consistent, let's say,
You gotta change one or change them all, I guess, right? I mean,
just keep it.
Okay.
Everybody comfortable moving
Yes.
forward?
Okay. That's fine. All right.
So, I'm sorry. So have we gone through this whole thing? Are we going to? Are we approving the dates at this point?
The dates are presented later for the meetings in the agenda.
Okay,
Well, these are,
These are specific dates also. so-
yeah, so the other one, the next one would be October.
oh, you're
And-
right, this doesn't have dates.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Oh, yes, it
Well,
does,
yeah.
second Tuesday.
It does, but there's an
It's-
agenda
No,
item.
not date,
The second Tuesday, April 2024 is the date.
it's,
But there is an
the
agenda
actual
item later
date
that actually is a date approval, so I think we're just approving language. And so if we get through the language and then get to the dates,
I'm with Commissioner Rexroad. If we don't streamline this, I think we'll be here all day. And would people be willing, our administrator has worked hard at organizing this. And I think it'd be helpful, page by page, highlight the things that you think we need to take action.
this shouldn't take long, so October. We would be moving the, she has potentially second Tuesday. But we're just saying, just leave it on first Tuesday of October. It's October 1st would be our executive. Second would be our regular. That's the way it's been done, so we're gonna leave that as is and not go with changes.
Anybody agree with that?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Okay.
Moving forward.
Well, and then in December, we would, does Christmas fall later? So we would have executive on the, she deleted the first Tuesday of December and put second in on, so she made that change. Am I understanding that correctly or not?
The second would be the executive committee meeting based on the current schedule would be on the 9th. And the second, which would be the regular meeting, would be on the 16th.
17th.
We know, 10th and 17th.
10th and 17th.
Sorry, it'd be the 16th.
So
I'm sorry.
10th and
10th and
17th.
17th.
I think it worked really well to change December to the first and second Tuesdays as well.
Okay, so where was the first written that she deleted?
The first Tuesday, instead of second.
So she deleted the first and put second in for the executive, which would be the 10th. And then she deleted the second and made it the third. So do we want the December, we changed this year because of the holidays and travel and everything else. So do we want it executive the 3rd, regular the 10th, or executive the 10th, regular the 17th?
I think we changed it this year because of the time before Christmas, and with this calendar, I suspect that
It's a full
if
week.
if we do it too early, we run into problems.
Okay. So, yeah.
You think?
We, just from the financials and what we do, the reason it got switched 2 years ago was in the preparation of the calendar, which carried forward. That was in 22 and carried forward to 23, just from an administrative standpoint, meaning what I do and what finance does. The 10th and the 17th works, or no, it'd be the 10th and the 17th.
Yeah.
To work better because it's not that close to Christmas, it's the 17th. And then we'll come back and hit you between Christmas and New Year's for a year.
Bingo, and that's what I was just gonna say, it's been really kind of nice when it gets that close to Christmas to push it earlier in the month. I don't see that problem in 2024. Especially since we all know we have that final meeting the end of the month, so.
Everybody comfortable then with second,
Yes.
third week?
So is it really that helpful?
It really is. just because there is a big enough span this year. But if you find it throughout the year that doesn't work, you certainly gotta readjust it. It becomes problematic.
Anything else on page 4? Okay, now we're on page 5, or on page 6 of our packet.
Housekeeping change. Yep. As well as item 7, page 7,
It's the dates at the bottom.
and page 8.
Any issues with that?
Well, you on packet page 8 or board rules page 8?
Board rules.
Board rules page
Page
8, I suggest we leave number 6 just as regular as it states.
Could you speak to what that is? Because I apparently don't have this.
Well, I guess Laurel has a suggestion that throw in special meetings, but I think
We're on
that
page-
C6. Yeah, committee procedures,
C6 on page
board rules, page 8, there's only one change. And, or a suggested change. But I think by throwing special in there would just lead to more chaos that the public spoke of this morning. So I just suggest we leave it as regular and
Is this a place we want to consider putting Commissioner Rexroth's language on the limitations of our committee?
think that further. That's further in the packet.
In regards to section C, committee procedure, and I do see some of the confusion at the very bottom, there's a very small page 8 that relates to the board rules,
Oh.
but the page at the bottom right-hand corner is
That's why I'm
9.
confused.
So
on what
that's where
page
there's a
I'm on,
little bit, yeah,
okay.
so I was looking also at the bottom number, bottom right. Section 1 or C1 actually speaks to upon majority vote, recommendations and resolutions shall be developed and presented to the full board. And a recommendation that came up based on the language, or actually, to be honest with you, just a thought on this would be presentation of the full board to the executive session. And this would indeed commit that then any committee meetings and any committee discussions would be presented at the executive committee meeting. So proposed language for the board's consideration would be simply to add at the end of sentence number 1 is forward to the executive session or to the executive board.
Well,
I don't,
go ahead.
sure,
Yeah,
I'm not real comfortable with our committee structure. I think Commissioner Ross is doing a wonderful job with our personnel committee, but I'm not comfortable with those discussions not being held with the whole board. I really don't see why they can't. And also the finance committee, I think those discussions should be held with the full board. So I'm not real comfortable with. I think they're good. I think, I know why we decided to try it, but I'm not sure how helpful it's been.
It's only been 3 or 4 months. I mean, have we really tested it and we made some ideas and generated to improve it? Again, I think we're just reacting. And I think we need to think about the process.
I don't think that's reacting. I think it's
Yeah,
responding.
Let's make sure we all get to.
It's not a long time to give a committee structure any leg room to work and figure out where it needs to go.
I saw 3 hands, Commissioner Rexroth, Commissioner Kramer, and then Commissioner Lutton.
I think Commissioner Kramer was, got her hand up. But I guess my comment is really quick. I'm just gonna say, I think maybe we need to, rather than try and insert this language all the way through, is have a full discussion about the committee structure and some of the suggestions made and whether it lives or not, I guess. Before we dissect every single sentence going through here and add language that maybe someone is gonna, if it's the board's pleasure that the committee structure is resolved, then we've wasted a ton of time. So I think we should have that discussion together, and then if the pleasure of the board is to move forward, then I would ask, hey, take if the suggestions that I suggested are as modified or added to or agreed to at the next meeting, we can further modify our board rules with those changes if desired, rather than by spec. We're gonna go around our circle. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Oh, no, it's okay. I kind of probably just am gonna echo Commissioner Alger's statements about the committee structure. I have felt blindsided in some of our meetings as to which direction we were going. Not up to speed on them at all. I also think notoriously when you add meetings, to add meetings is a clear sign that and I don't think it's any, I don't think we're in the dark that things aren't functioning the way that they should be functioning. And I think as opposed to, elected officials trying to tackle these very difficult situations, we should maybe be looking more at the root of the dysfunction. Instead of just trying to do something, meet to meet. And that's kind of where I'm sitting with the committees. I know that I haven't been at them, so I don't really realize the things that you guys are doing, but I think that's also part of the problem. So.
I agree. I agree with everything that was just said. And I think Doug has a very good point. My first hope would be that we just get away from the committee system. I think the committee system has just created, I think it's created monsters. I think it's created chaos. I know it's created more work for the clerk. I know it's created more work for the staff. And I know it's created more work for us. And for example, if personnel committee meets, who am not on personnel now to have to take more of my time either to drive up here and watch the meeting itself so I can get the whole infliction of what's being said, or try to watch it on YouTube, which is at best bad, for several reasons. Quite often you can't really tell who's talking, quite often you can't hear what they're saying, and you certainly can't get the infliction of what's being said. So that would be my first out of the chute, is just let's go back to working as a full board of commissioners where we all get all the same information at the same time. Second, if we're going to have a committee system, my idea would be that we all meet for these. So do something such as the first Monday or the first Tuesday of the month, the first Tuesday, we would meet as a full board of commissioners, cover personnel issues and finance issues that are more in depth than what we normally can't handle as executive. Second Tuesday then would be executive, third Tuesday then would be regular. So it adds one meeting a month for us, but we would all get all the same information at the identical time. My third choice then would be to, if we are going to have committees, is follow Doug's, Commissioner Rexroth's plan for spelling it out. And but follow it to a T, because it's very well written. Commissioner Rexroth, I give you a lot of credit because it says exactly what has to happen. So if we started executive, if there's a need for it to go to committee, this board would then send it to committee. So if it's a personnel issue, personnel would look at it. If there's financial implication, it would then go to finance, then go to executive the next month. If there's anything really that pressing. And that would be my hope is I just think that the least amount of heartache for everyone. And but if we're gonna do it, we have to do it. We have to do it right.
Commissioner Ross.
Chairman Russell, when did the committee system, when did we discuss that, or when was that idea brought to us?
Was it placed in August or September?
September, okay.
When we were struggling with finance.
Yeah.
I assume we're only talking about the personnel committee and finance committee and not buildings and grounds and safety and senior services and some of our other standing committees. But it seems to me that we have to decide before we have to decide. I've heard 3 people anyway say, I think we ought to dispense with the committees. And then we heard a suggestion from Commissioner Resro that he'd like to keep the committees, but really restrict them in their business. It seems to me that's the first question. Before we go too much further, we have to decide whether we're going to do without committees or have committees. And then if we have committees, we have to have them. So Commissioner Ross and Commissioner Albert.
I totally agree with what you're saying, but I also want to remind myself and others in the room that the reason why this happened is that we were in a crisis, and we're still not over that crisis. In a couple hours, we're going to hear from the man we hired to help us dig into the problem. I think it's all tied together, and I think making a decision to dismantle the committees before we've gone through the results of the survey and really had a chance to digest what is a more workable function of this board and how do we support the staff better. I think that's too tied to what we're going to find out this afternoon to make a decision this morning. I feel very strongly that it was a good idea. We gave it 3, 4 months work, and we're looking at amending it, making it better. I think to throw it out before is not the right use of our time.
Commissioner Albert. Did you?
You haven't spoken yet, so I'd like to follow.
His finger's not very tall.
Well, the agenda says approval of the 2024 rules of order and procedure. So everybody has a lot of good points. So the way it looks right here, are we required to approve the rules at this meeting, or can we table it?
I would table it.
Sorry, actually, this is where.
But are we required by statute to approve the rules and procedures at this meeting? If not, I would suggest we table it and get everybody in a room and get this straightened out.
I'll defer to the clerk. It's my opinion, we need rules to operate. We can always amend them at any time. But we must have rules in place to have a meeting.
So you're saying approve it even though we're not going to approve all of it or change it?
Well, it might be easier to amend with what you're saying, but I do think we kind of need to know, we're scheduling things out for the year, so we kind of need to know our schedule. Public needs to know our schedule.
I agree.
So is there a situation where the conflict really lies around the committee structure and you?
That's where it lies with me, and it says.
Approve them as it is.
Yes.
And table the committee structure discussion. I mean,
I take back saying he can go first. If he's gonna table me, then I'm taking back.
No, I think Mr. Rector has the right idea. We're all going around this committee and, that's handle that later, Doug, you think, or what?
This is where we do that. This is the organizational meeting. So that's the whole purpose of this meeting, is to say, what are we gonna be doing this year?
We're gonna be here. a while.
Well, it takes as long as it takes sometimes. The organization, so that okay, so what was I gonna say before this? You wiped my brain. I don't like not being a part of full discussions, especially on finance. I think part of the reason that we had a HR committee is we had a new HR person who was, and we were trying to support what she was doing. She's now gone. But I don't like not being, I would support Commissioner Lautner's idea is if we have an issue that needs special discussion, that we have a special meeting before executive, after our executive, to go into a financial issue or an HR issue in depth as needed. But that we're all in on that discussion and we all get all the facts and all can engage. So even with the committees, I can come to the finance meeting, but I can't speak. It's just public comment. So we can't engage in full discussions with the committee structure, as the whole group. And then you guys decide something. And it comes to the executive and we have to start all over. So that's why I don't like it.
Commissioner Kramer.
I think Kama is completely accurate. I think this is very much tied to the climate survey and how we should be moving forward. I think just lay it out there. I think these committees are formed now to address the problem that we have essentially, maybe not this board, but previous boards have created. And I'm still not really sure why we haven't come to the conclusion that maybe this isn't just functioning the way it should be and going back to maybe when it was functional. I think the climate survey will give us some inside information into that, but putting Band-Aids on Band-Aids on Band-Aids, I don't think is really, again, addressing the root. So I think maybe this portion needs to be tabled until we can find out more.
Well, I'm trying to think in my own mind what I've heard. I've heard three people anyway that would like to do away without the committees. I heard one that would like to restructure the committees but keep them. I've heard one that wants to table. And I've heard one that wants to give it another chance. I think it's time to make a decision so we can move forward. And I'm open to a motion.
I would move to, I'm sorry, was someone up there first?
No, you're good.
No, I'll back up.
Oh, there's somebody else. Oh, sorry, I didn't.
Okay,
Commissioner there.
I would move that we amend the committee structure to include the entire board, which would meet as needed in special session to address specific issues.
Or. Let's get to that.
I just believe, again, I will reiterate, I can attend a finance meeting, but I cannot speak. And to me, that's untenable. I do believe that we all need to be able to be present for a deep discussion and able to participate in that discussion.
So I just for understanding, I have the same problem with the other standing boards that have been here, that I tend to not speak, building and grounds, safety. I think that, I don't remember, I have to look at how many there are, there are several, so I have to really understand why this action would only apply to one and not to all.
That's that, just real quick, just because.
First
finances-
Commissioner Ross and then you.
Yeah, I think, it's logistics too, you guys. We have to get all 7 of us ordered if we all want to be on the table, all these meetings. I don't think it's gonna lessen the number of meetings we do. I really don't. I really feel like this is pretty preemptive of trying to make this county work better by just not letting the process work.
Commissioner Hunter and Commissioner Lutton.
I don't envision that we will meet. We would meet as needed. And I think that the difference between the finance committee and things like building and grounds and senior services is because our primary job for all of us is to watch over the taxpayers' dollar. And we all need to be involved in that discussion.
Commissioner Lutton.
Yeah, so, I really think it's apples and oranges to look at the other committees. Where we might place a no smoking sign on the campus just does not compare to the levity of what these two large committees have been doing. So I agree 100%. I don't like not being able to speak at these committee meetings when they're dealing with such heavy issues. And the bigger problem is that it's how they've been handled. And I've been pounding the table since these committees started, because I asked the question when we formed these of whether all recommendations would come back to executive. And I was told yes, that was the process. And that in these 4 months or 5 months has not happened. We've been circumventing this board of commissioners, ramming stuff through, and that's not fair to us, and that is not fair to the public. So because we had a process, the process was not followed. That's why I fully appreciate what Commissioner Rexroth has said about how it would be spelled out. I supported this motion because I think it would streamline meetings, because it would only be what is absolutely necessary to go to a full committee of the whole, which is the way we've been operating for a number of years, and it's worked very well. So if there's a really important issue, a really important speaker, such as, this gentleman that came for the climate survey, we all could have been in on that meeting instead of having to wait till we met and trying to ask questions and be repeatedly shut down. Right. So I think it would really streamline, and we just push the most important things off, get back to the executive committee meeting. And it doesn't, so that committee of the whole meeting, we wouldn't have to schedule one for every first Tuesday. So as the calendar permitted, if there's an issue that comes up and executive says, hey, let's boot this, it could meet the week after regular, so we all have time to gather more information. So if you're gonna get off of home base here today, I would say go down to do a quick poll, see where your board is, and I'm for dissolving the committee structure and go back to the way we were.
Commissioner Rexroth.
So just a point of order, and I don't disagree with a lot of what's been said. I think the committee didn't have a structure to begin with. That's why I proposed the changes that I did, and it would address some of Commissioner Elgay's concerns. Kathy and I specifically talked about that, but I don't think general financing should come to the finance committee. It was more just a task to address a specific task. I think that language addresses that, but then again, I will defer to the whole board. I only have one just scheduling question. I assume if we make this motion and it followed that, I could cancel this afternoon's finance committee, because there is no finance committee as soon as this motion is made. Then you'll have to inform the gentleman from MSU that you made this trip for nothing. So I'm okay with that, but I just want to understand logistics and process here, right here, so.
Commissioner Lautner has suggested we poll everybody, and let's start with Commissioner Rexroth, and just, we've got a motion on the table, state your view, and let's see where everybody is.
I support continuing the committee structure with the restrictions I suggested.
Emma?
I agree.
Well, I said no committees, but that is my, I would go along with, as long as we follow the restrictions.
I would even say for a limited time, give it a chance. See if the limitations as proposed, revisions don't work. Hey, you can kill it It'd be nice if it stayed open just today, because we could ask someone to drive somewhere else, so.
Totally. That's why we need a calendar.
Commissioner Ward?
Well, the standard is to have 3 of us among the 7 call for a special board meeting, is that correct? So I agree with Commissioner Rexroth, but I don't think we should overload these committees that we are on. That's the problem. Let's have an issue of county boards have been operating for years on special meetings. 3 of us, no matter what 3, can call for a special meeting if it's important. But let's give the committee just a little bit of time to work on it. I mean, I'm between Doug and Melinda here right now, so thank you.
I'm not comfortable having a finance committee meet without all of us, so I can't support it. I would support a special meeting to discuss some type of financial issue.
Jamie?
Feel like I'm in between the 2 spaces. I hear Doug, and I think that would be appropriate way to handle this. We are to continue with the committee structure. However, I'm just not sure, again, not being a part of either committee, what we're actually doing. And to me, it feels like micromanaging a mistake that we continue to make. So I will be totally for moving forward and seeing if we can see some improvement. But maybe revisiting this if it's not functioning appropriately in a few months.
I'm the only one that hasn't spoken, and I would like to give committee structure a longer trial. I would like to really restrict how we do business. I think Doug has presented some good suggestions for us. I think we all 7 of us, if we adopt that, all 7 of us have to make sure that we abide by that rule. The only time the committees would consider something is if they were requested to consider it from the full board. And I think I've heard at least 4 people say that. But we have a motion on the floor that says disband the committees, so we first will have to vote on that motion. Am I correct?
The motion on the floor was by Al Guyer, the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners, amend the committee structure to the entire board that would meet in special session to address special issues.
So that's the motion on the floor. All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So that motion fails 2-5.
So Doug has a motion which puts this plan into place to be placed. Wordsmith, as clerk of the board, would you wordsmith that in our?
If you would take just a quick recess so I could see that email. And,
That sounds good. Fill up the coffee cups.
And I'm open to suggestions, that's just my thoughts, but I further.
We don't suggest it.
Yeah.
Doug, what if we were to do that, I would say meeting only as directed by the board.
It's
So not
a
a monthly.
It does say it in there.
Yeah, but not a monthly.
Do you want that, Zach?
Yeah. I don't want it.
Yes.
And a finance meeting.
Yeah, my email address, right?
You're not gonna go waste, are you?
I'm not.
Right there.
Oh, you did.